Here's the 30-second lesson on what legends know. Never practice nunchucks in a crowded room. Never eat chole before a road trip. Always take your shirt off before you iron it. Don't take a call near a swimming pool. And don't forget, saving is not investing. Legends don't just save, they invest in mutual funds. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
As the government prepares to introduce two bills in the parliament to set the ball rolling for one nation, one election, the big question that weighs on everyone's mind is, can Prime Minister Narendra Modi achieve what L.K. Advani and Atal Bihari Vajpayee could not? After all, reverting to ONOE, or One Nation, One Election, has been on the table for 42 years, since September 1982, when the Election Commission of India proposed it. Vajpayee pursued it with the opposition till 2003, and then Advani followed it up till 2010. Modi, who has been advocating ONOE since his chief ministerial days, seems to be getting serious about this now, as is evident from these two bills. I can see many raised eyebrows and frowns. What do you mean getting serious? Because it took the Prime Minister over 9 years to finally initiate the process by setting up the Ramnath Kovind-led committee in September 2023. He missed many opportunities to show his commitment to One Nation, One Election. For one, he could have gone for simultaneous assembly polls in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat in 2022, both ruled by the BJP, and for Haryana and Maharashtra in 2024. Because these two states went to polls together on the 21st of October in 2019. He could also have advanced the Lok Sabha election by a few months to club it with assembly elections in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Telangana and Mizoram in November 2023. Or NDA ruled Maharashtra and Haryana assemblies could have been dissolved a few months earlier to club their elections with the parliamentary polls in 2024. 6 months of power at the center or in a few states wasn't such a big sacrifice or risk for the BJP, because it would have placed PM Modi on such a high moral pedestal on the ONOE that cornered the opposition into submission. Besides, if PM Modi found ONOE so much in national interest, why should he fix 2034 for its rollout, as has been suggested by the Kovind-led committee? Why not devise a way to implement it when you are at the helm? Why leave a potentially disruptive political move to your successor to deal with? It's like the women's reservation in the Lok Sabha and the assemblies. It will not be implemented as long as he is at the helm, because it has been linked with the census and the delimitation exercise. One does not know when the census will be conducted and whether delimitation will be carried out ahead of 2029 general elections at all, given opposition from southern parties, including BJP's crucial ally TDP, to population being the basis. PM Modi has left another potentially disruptive move against patriarchy in politics for his successor to execute. Returning to the ONOE, the two draft bills seem to be more like trial balloons at this stage. One of them is a constitutional amendment. The NDA does not have the numbers to push it through. It is reconciled to sending it to a JPC. The idea ostensibly is to initiate the process and bide an opportune time to steamroll it if possible. These two bills are not enough to implement the ONOE though. More constitutional amendments, including some also requiring ratification by states, will have to be brought. If the opposition eventually manages to stall these bills, so be it. PM Modi will have a handle to beat the opposition with. And if Amit Shah uses his magic wand to break the opposition and get a section to side with it, nothing like it. The current leadership will then walk into history with the credit, leaving their successors to deal with the complexities in its implementation. Both ONOE advocates and opponents have their arguments, but neither side is addressing the most important aspect, that is, citizens' rights. Are the so-called advantages, financial or otherwise, of synchronized elections worth sacrificing the citizens' rights and opportunities to keep politicians on a short leash? Give politicians a secure term of 5 years in power and see how they turn their back on voters for the next 4 years or so. Take the case of demonetization in 2016, when the stories of hardships of millions of people standing in queues before banks broke out. The government went into a panic mode to address the problems because there were elections in 5 states 2 months later. Similarly, when the GST was rolled out in July 2017 and there were voices of discontent and anger from a section of the people, the government had to rush with remedial measures because there were assembly elections in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat a few months later. I'm not talking about the merits or demerits of demonetization and GST here, or how it worked in favor of or against any party in elections. What I'm driving at is the fact that one nation, many elections enable the voters to keep politicians and their parties in check. That's how the people regularly vet their policies and politics and have a say in governance. You can trust ruling parties and politicians to forget accountability if they have to come to the people just once in 5 years and not every now and then. That's why one nation, one election is a bad idea. There are two main arguments given in support of the ONOE: that it will save unnecessary expenditures on frequent elections and boost GDP growth that's hampered by enforcements of the Model Code of Conduct. The fact is that neither the government nor the COVID committee has given any detailed account of the savings from simultaneous elections. The committee has cited the Election Commission of India to peg the cost of simultaneous elections at 4,500 crores. How much do segregated elections cost? There is no clarity. This ECI figure found mention in a Parliamentary Standing Committee report in 2015. In a discussion paper in 2017, Niti Aayog's Bibek Debroy and Kishore Desai put the cost of Lok Sabha election in 2014 at 3870 crore. So if you were to factor in the costs in simultaneous and segregated polls in a decade back, the difference was a little over 600 crore rupees. Is 600 crores such a big amount for a country like ours to sacrifice the citizens' rights to reward or punish politicians at regular intervals? In my opinion, no. The ECI said in its submission in 2015 that the cost of procuring additional EVMs and paper trail machines for holding simultaneous polls would amount to 9,300 crores. It's not a one-time expenditure, and EVM's life is 15 years only. So that's 3,100 crore per election on an average. Factor that and the cost-benefit analysis of simultaneous polls gets further skewed. We don't have any official figures about the total cost of the 2019 Lok Sabha election and the assembly elections from 2014 and 2019, which could enable us to make this cost-benefit analysis in terms of expenditures. And of course, we have no latest figures, official figures, telling us how much we will save by synchronized elections today. I mean, it's all about my word versus your word. The COVID committee report talks about how simultaneous elections would boost GDP growth. It suggests that due to frequent elections, the government ends up increasing revenue expenditures, say freebies, instead of focusing on capital expenditure. This argument has merits, but every single party is using reveries in a big way now. What will stop them from taking it to a whole new level every 5 years? That's like Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman arguing that a 7-quarter low of GDP growth in July-September period in the current fiscal was due to elections, as there was no focus on capital expenditures. Let's take it with a pinch of salt. If one were to buy her argument, it should have been limited to Q1, to the first quarter. Was it the election hangover that slowed down the growth in the second quarter? Anyway, another argument is about the Model Code of Conduct hampering governance. It does not. Nothing stops a government from carrying out its planned schemes and committed expenditures. Unless, of course, one is talking about the entire political executive getting busy in elections, bringing governance to a standstill. But Modi, Amit Shah and other central ministers don't have to campaign in every assembly and even municipal election. And if the MCC is such a huge problem, curtail its period And for all we care, do away with it. It's becoming ineffective anyway. Having said that, let's look at the opposition's stand against the ONOE. They talk about federal principles, violation of the will of the people, regional issues getting subsumed by national, and so on and so forth. You can always debate the merits and demerits of their arguments. Let me start with the last point, because many regional parties see it as a sort of conspiracy by the BJP to take away their advantage. The fact is that Mamata Banerjee has repeatedly gotten the better of the BJP, which contested on national issues and with Modi as the face in all election formats in West Bengal. Arvind Kejriwal has successfully blunted the BJP's onslaught centered on national issues in Delhi Assembly elections. Hemant Soren did it in Jharkhand only last month. We are not even talking about regional players in South India. Having said that, their apprehensions are not totally unfounded. Look at how the Modi wave catapulted the BJP-led NDA to power in 21 states at one point of time. But a phenomenon like Modi comes only rarely. In normal elections, we have seen how the voters have begun to differentiate between national and assembly elections and vote differently. There is no reason why they won't do the same in synchronized elections. The opposition has a bigger issue that they never state publicly. The fear that the Modi wave would give a huge advantage to the BJP, which may end up sweeping all elections and rendering the opposition jobless for 5 years at least, to start with. Given that the Kovind committee has suggested 2034 as the time frame for ONOE's implementation, the opposition must get rid of their Modi phobia now. Unless, of course, they see another BJP leader creating a similar wave in future. Suppose there were simultaneous elections in 2024. The opposition would probably be ruling in UP, Maharashtra and Haryana among other places. Today, Unde. And that would have been with Modi as the BJP's face. Well, this should be a good enough reason for the opposition to stay positive. They should oppose the ONOE, but not because of Modi phobia. They should do it to uphold citizens' rights, to keep their rulers in check. That's all from me in this episode of Politically Correct. Thanks for watching.